The action takes place in an unknown city. A man and a woman in raincoats fled from unknown followers. The woman was holding a child in her arms who was crying madly. The man told her to shut up, girl, to which this woman asked if he was thinking about what he was talking about. The man also told her to just shut the girl's mouth. If she doesn't want to be discovered. The woman said that they would not hear her because of the noise of the rain. But the man said to leave the child somewhere. The woman asked if the girl would die. The man said it was inevitable. After all, the child has red hair, as in the prophecy. The woman asked for forgiveness from the baby and left her against the wall of the house. The girl mentally asked not to leave her. She doesn't want her life to end like this. After all, she will die an orphan just like in a past life. At that moment, she remembered how in a past life she was given away from her family. One woman called and said she didn't like her eyes. And that the girl keeps asking for food. The girl thought that they would not give her anything if she did not ask. After she was sent back, I was adopted a second time. At first glance, the man looked very nice and asked if she would like to go with her uncle. But later he locked her in some basement and told her not to even look at him and not to rock the boat. Otherwise tomorrow she would not even see the sun, not to mention dinner. She was not even allowed to eat or go to the toilet. Even though it was natural, she had to apologize for it. She wanted to live. So she tried. Once, and then again. Later, the police knocked on the door and the men said that the pilot had received a call. They asked if there were children in his house. He replied that there was no one, but the girl screamed for help with her last strength. She was rescued when she was on the verge of death. The third adoption went well. Her parents weren't overly caring people, but they weren't bad either. Together, she graduated from college. Life was getting better, if not for one thing. On the way home, she got into a car accident. It was raining just as hard that day as today. She retained memories from a past life, and wanted at least this life to go right. Who knew that she could be thrown out of only one hair color? Her crazy life, she's tired of trying. She's already resigned and accepted that it will end. She can only breathe and scream, she can't even stand up. The girl saw someone's steps, but at that moment she fell asleep. She hoped that this life would turn out differently. Until then, I want to believe in it. The girl woke up. I heard that from now on her name will be Tilias. The girl did not understand what had happened. She thought she died in the rain. And did not understand whether she was reborn again. At that moment, a man approached her. He addressed her by name Tilias and asked if she was sleeping. The girl did not understand who Tilias was. And she remembered that she heard this name before her death. The man said that from now on he is her father. The girl thought that the man was her benefactor. Such tender hugs. She never felt like this. She realized that Tilias was her new name. At that moment, a woman with the same hair color approached them. The girl noticed a similarity in her hair. The woman said that this child must have been abandoned because of the prophecy. And she was glad that now she was their child. Beautiful. Our child. Tilias had never heard such warm words before. Even her third family didn't say that. New parents saw that the girl was about to burst into tears. The main character knew that it was impossible to cry, because adults hate crying children, but she couldn't control herself because emotions flooded over her. She cried but was very happy. So now she is the youngest daughter of the Baron Linden. She became Tilias Rose Linden. There were 2 more sons in her family. The first Kier Linden, the girl has been here for more than a day, but she has never seen another expression on his face other than a smile. Second son Delaus Linden. He is the exact opposite of his brother, and recently he has started to carry a wooden sword to protect the girl. The 2 brothers were arguing whether Delaus told his brother not to offend the girl, and he replied that he did not offend anyone, and just wanted to cheer her up. The girl understood that these 2 were complete opposites. Until this day, he never had brothers who love her, therefore, at first, she thought that they hated her and would mock her, but everything turned out differently. The girl sneezed very sweetly. Kier asked his brother if he saw how she sneezed cutely. Delaus said Tilly must have caught a cold. And he has to protect her. They act like this every day. After some time, the mother of the family called the children to eat and told them to take their sister with them. This pretty woman is her mother, Julia Linden. The last maid has recently retired, so she cooks the baby food herself. After all, this family of aristocrats is poor. The woman was glad that the girl always has what they give her. For the main character, it wasn't all that bad. She didn't care that they had no money. For her, the most important thing was that she had a good family. In this world, red hair is considered a curse. That's why the girl was thrown out. But this family accepted her contrary to prejudice. Do they believe in these superstitions? No, the woman has the same red hair as the girl. She really wants to thank her saviors, but she can't even say thanks right now. Then how about something from a clumsy little girl? And one more thing. The parents asked what the girl saw there. The woman told the man to look at her bright sunny beautiful eyes. There is something that interested her from the very beginning. She saw the sun over people's heads. The girl did not understand what the sun meant. Her father said that it was time for her to sleep. The girl tried to touch the sun, but her hand went through and landed on her father's head. He said that she had the same blue hands. The woman told the two brothers to go to bed and they wished her good night. The girl noticed that her brothers and mothers also have them. She wondered if she has. She has a lot of questions, but first she needs to check if she has the sun over her head. She climbed on the table and a little more and she got to the mirror. But her mother took her in her arms and said that it was dangerous to climb on the dressing table. The girl wanted to quickly find out what was over her head, and she did not know if this could interfere with her future family. The people who saved her against their own ideas. She never endangered. Tomorrow she will try again. A man came to them. The woman greeted him and called him Marquis Kens. He greeted the woman and the girl saw that a thundercloud was over his head. Later, Mark sat at the table and told the girl's father that a lot of time had passed since the first child was born. And he still lives in this old Posadniki. And asked if he was going to join him. He will not stop offering it to him, he is unlikely to be able to help. No matter how many times he was denied. Although the girl replied that he was not going to accept his proposals. If his help still involves legal and tax evasion, thank you, but he'll refuse. The girl understood what they were talking about. They sit behind the wall and listen. Marquis asked tax evasion? Well, so what? He asked how long he was going to walk with the brand of a ram. And in our time, even ordinary people laugh at this title. The girl heard that although the Linden family is poor, it has a rich heritage. She didn't know if the Marquis wanted to use it. After all, this is a great chance for him to launder money through him. The girl's father replied that he understood his concern, but he was fine. The Marquis said that they would meet again. The girl realized that this was a chance to see the weather over the Marquis's head. Julia asked the girl if she would like to spend the Marquis with her. The woman said goodbye to the man and said to come again. But he replied that he was no longer going to return. The girl saw that he still had a gas cloud. The woman said that he was old, but still full of energy. The girl realized that, apparently, the weather was overhead. Expresses the emotional state of a person. Entering the room, the man apologized and thought that it was quite noisy. The woman asked him about the development of the Marquis did not try to help them. But the man replied that he was trying to use and then get rid of them if something went wrong. He didn't care if he got hit alone, but he can't risk his family. The woman replied that it was good. You can't commit crimes even for the sake of children. And now they have Tillies. The man said that he might have to sell half of the land again but. The girl was very surprised Vichya if they are not worried about money. Shouldn't the sun go out? They have 3 children and no money, but they are happy. Instead of refusing the Marquis, they had to compromise. The girl tried to say and fools but the parents thought she said dad. The girl understood that if a person behaves too kindly, all this turns out to be a mask. But she did not understand what the world had come to. She couldn't look at those happy faces. And it seems that these people even pick up joy out of thin air. She wanted to find a way to get rich. After all, happiness is money. This ability definitely has the ability to read moods. She thinks she can make a lot of money if she uses it right, but she wonders if she can do something while she's a child. She can't see people because they are behind the crib. And that's too high. The woman asked if the girl wanted to play with her mother. That's the moment someone came to them and the girl realized that this was her chance. She asked for pens and the woman said that they would take a walk together. At the entrance, the wife of yesterday's Marquis was waiting for them. She asked if her husband came to see them yesterday. The girl saw that she was sitting at Nika Anna's, but she did not understand why she had the son then. The woman asked if she could come in. And the girl's mother said that she could pass. The girl realized that the expression of emotions can be different for each person. She stroked her mother's cheek so that she would not worry. Then she left the girl in the carriage and told her to wait, because she would talk a little with the Marchioness. The girl has no choice but to eavesdrop again. Mom offered the Marquise to drink tea, but she said that she had no desire to drink tea now. The girl was confused again because she did not understand why, after such words, she still had the son. After the Marquise said that the woman was honest with her. She asked her husband to cheat on her with a woman. The woman and the main character were surprised by what they heard. Julia asked what she was talking about. Marquise replied that is not so. She knows that her husband came here yesterday. And he hid it from her. Isn't it logical to assume that he came here to meet a woman? But Julia told her why her husband really came here. He came here to talk to her husband, they came to her. He left as soon as they finished. Marquise asked for forgiveness. And turning to herself, she then asked with whom the hell her husband was cheating on her. The girl was surprised that at that age with whom her husband could change her face. The woman said that she had trusted her husband all her life. The girl can't get out at that pace. So she'll have to use another method. The main character cried and her mother took her in her arms. She said that Tilly only science stops crying. The girl decided to see if her guesses were correct. Did the woman also have a thundercloud over her head? But she saw that the sun was above the woman. The Marquise asked for forgiveness and said that it must have been because of her that the girl began to cry. Tilly was very surprised. Although the woman is crying, she still has the sun above her head. After all, isn't the weather an expression of emotions? What follows from this? Her family and Marquise Sunday. And Mark Ken's is a thundercloud. The Marquise said that nevertheless, she would definitely find out with whom he was cheating on her. Tilly I brushed off the camera supporting the woman. The girl understood what the difference in weather meant. It must be love radar. Marquise realized that the girl was supporting her. She said the baby is very cute. The woman said that it would be good if the evil mouth spreading rumors about red hair would die down. She apologized for the confusion. And she said to leave them. Julia replied that she could walk around whenever she wanted. And they will be happy with it. After the woman left and the girl said her thoughts aloud. That a woman, because of her husband, the Marquis, seems to be fading away every day. And she said that maybe the Marquis will already take his head. Tilly decided this was her chance to see what was above her head. The girl pointed to the mirror and the woman asked if she wanted to look in the mirror. Julia praised the baby because she shows what she wants to see. The girl realized that, apparently, the shape of the sun means that a person has no intentions of starting an affair on the side. A means that this person is cheating on his soulmate. So the sun must be above her head. But look in the mirror, the girl saw that she was from her rainbow head. The girl did not understand what rainbow means. She assumed that she would have a colorful love or that a harem. She was a virgin in her past life. She reassured herself that she still had a lot to learn. If this is a rainbow, then it is difficult to determine what it means. Later, the main character went for a walk with her brothers. It was very humiliating for her. They also put on a cute costume and tied a rope to her arm. She certainly was grateful that you hold her so that she does not fall, but this is very humiliating. On the street, women paid attention to her and said that she was very nice. Thanks to her clothes, her exit became a grand spectacle for everyone. One woman came up and asked how old, and one of the brothers replied that their Tilly was 2 years old. The girl did not understand why she was presented like that and it was too embarrassing. The woman handed her a piece of candy and asked if she wanted it. The main character took the candy and realized that it was just fine. Everyone leans towards her, and she sees what's over their heads, and she continued to study. She met another girl who had a thundercloud over her head. Then she met a guy who had clouds, but no rain or lightning. The sun was shining on him so she couldn't see. but then she realized that he also had the sun. It was just clouds passing by. And this person. Tilly sat down and began to think. She has seen so many people, but not one has a rainbow like hers. At that moment, her brother took her on his back. I was walking along the street and the girl noticed that the man who was talking to the woman had a thundercloud. She realized that this wand is the same as the Marquis and Marquise Ken's. This woman is so sweet to talk to a man who is unfaithful to her, and does not even guess. The main character began to point her finger at them. She knew that perhaps the woman would not believe the children's words, but she would tell her this name of justice. I hoped that she would remember her words and be on her guard. Tilly shouted that this jerk is a cheater. At that moment, the brother stumbled on a stone and fell. The woman immediately ran up to them and asked if they were okay. The man didn't understand what the hell. But the girl continued to say that this uncle is a traitor. Her brother asked how she could know that her uncle was cheating. After all, she had never even seen him once. The man asked what family these children were from. The boy kindly introduced himself and said that his name was Kia Linden. I was not from the family of Baron Linden. And he apologizes for his sister. The man asked, and what now? If he hits them and then apologizes, then everything will be easier for him. He said that they should understand when it is better for them not to open it, they should be punished. Tilly didn't understand why he wanted to delete them because they apologized. Before hitting, the Kia stopped the stick and told the aristocrat that he was already a grown man, but was going to hit a child. Indeed, behavior worthy of an aristocrat. Kia Linden. He has less curly hair, fluffy and delicate, like a lamb. He always behaved like a weak-willed and caring older brother, so the girl thought that he could not argue with anyone. But she was also surprised by his strength. The man shouted that he was a petty bastard. And he asked why he didn't let her go right now. The boy had no problem Polomalu canes with his bare hands, after which the man fell to the ground. The people who saw it were surprised. They knew he was strong. That is, expensive, so it must be of excellent quality and very durable. Likely how much does it cost? Navid is not only expensive, but she is clearly from another country. It is unlikely that you will be able to buy the same one so easily. In any case, this boy was stronger than Viscount Dalton. Kia asked for forgiveness because he did not want to break it. The man mumbled something under his breath. A boy from the Baron's family. Apostate. His wife stopped him and said he scared her. The man decided to object and said that these little children got his reputation. The woman asked if it was possible to spoil his reputation with the words of a small child. She asked if the children were okay and the boy reassured her that everything was fine. After she switched to the man, she said that after these words of the baby, it was as if the veil of the evil eye had fallen. She had long guessed why he ran to Mr. Smith's house so often. One day, when she asked where he was going, he said that he had a business meeting. But he was not at any meeting. He also tried to hit the child. She is disappointed. She told him to file the divorce papers right away. Another woman came up and said that they were breaking all business contracts with him. After all, she certainly does not need a sadist in partners. The man began to ask for forgiveness and wait. He said there was some kind of misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? After in the carriage, the Kea asked the girl if the Liana was scared. She was surprised by his incredible face. She can't believe he can change his expression so quickly. The girl stroked his cheek and said thank you. After that, in the house, mother asked the Kea what he said. The boy said he broke the Viscount's cane. The main character realized that her brother was in trouble. He just saved her. He shouldn't be reprimanded for it. Kea only wanted to apologize, but at that moment the girl and the other brother ran up to him. They began to explain that he was not to blame for anything. The girl tried to say something, but she did not succeed completely, and the second brother explained that Duke Dalton was this bearded and scary man. The boy said that he was a man about to hit with all the strength of his brother until I with his cane. Their mother said that she understood and asked if they were hurt. Kaya replied that they were fine. Julia said that then she was glad. As long as they didn't get hurt, all is well. She praised the Kaya for protecting the Tilly. But she said not to break other people's things. After all, this old age could be very dear to him. The woman told the boy that with the force comes great responsibility. And asked him if he understood. and he replied in the affirmative with a smile on his face. But as a parent, it seems to me that he does not need to touch if he was going to hit the child with it, said the father. Kia was very glad to see her. The man said it was great that he was trying to protect the Tilly. Father suggested that we go to dinner and Julia said that first everyone would go to wash their hands. The woman asked the baby if she wanted to eat. She answered in the affirmative. The girl was glad that everything ended well. But she did not know that Kia is so strong. He was able to scare a grown man. At that moment, the thought arose in my head that if we take the strength of the Kia and its ability, they can create a gang of traitor exterminators. The main character thought that they could build their own business. They will earn a lot of money and the whole family will become rich, and she hoped that they could raise their status. She stopped so happy, just imagined it. She already imagined what they would buy for money. The action shifts to a place where more than a dozen men have gathered. The father of the family said that at the moment the water supply facilities are very poor, and it is difficult to find a suitable place for a well outside the imperial palace, and large-scale hydraulic works will be urgently needed in the near future. And asked if anyone had any suggestions on this. Are you talking about hydraulic structures? Looks like you, the balance, now have enough money to deal with this in the first place, said one of the men. The second added not for this or the reason they had a third child. Patamushta they have a lot of money, and said to be careful, and the money they were saving would soon run out. The girl's father replied that in the first place, they need to be careful and not allow children to adults who can harm them. Fortunately, in such situations, his eldest son was able to navigate much better than adults. The very aristocrat whose cane was broken by the Kia became very angry. The man sitting in the center of the table told them to stop. His name is Duke Raw. He said that this is not a battlefield. And he asked Baron Linden how long he was going to repeat this. He asked for forgiveness. And he said that the situation of the water supply is rather deplorable, so he needed to point out this issue. Another man supported the Duke and said that he was right. The meeting dragged on, and he offered to just end it. He said that the Baron just couldn't sit still. Since this issue is the well-being of the Empire, it means deciding what His Majesty should do. Other aristocrats began to support the decision to simply end the meeting. Raw said to himself that the ram can spoil the atmosphere. He told everyone that they were done for today and that everyone was free. After the meeting, Julia asked Henry how the meeting went. He replied that they still did not listen to him. He simply understood the problem of water supply and asked for a solution. The woman replied that everything was written on his face. But nevertheless, he's a good guy. Julia noticed that a woman came with a man and thought that she was a guest, but the man replied that he was walking alone. The girl's mother asked who the woman was. This is Lyndon's Raven's house, the guest asked. The girl realized that it was Mrs. Dalton, and this is her first unofficial but saved victim of a traitor. The main character did not know what was the matter and whether she came because of that day. The girl decided not to sit still, and I thought that I would greet her with all my might. At that moment, her mother took her in her arms and said that it was dangerous to stand up so suddenly, and at that moment, Dalton recognized the mother of the heroine as her friend Julia. Julia also realized that the woman in front was Christina, whom she had known in the past. Dalton said, "It's been so many years. My God, Christina, long time no see." The girl's mother said. The woman replied that they just met like that. She heard that Julia was married, but she did not think that she lived in this city. The girl's mother would also never have thought that she would see her in this city. She offered to set the table. Later, sitting at the table, they recalled how they were best friends. I was told that these memories will never be forgotten. Mrs. Dalton said that she had actually come to the Baron Linden's house to meet the children. But she's so glad to have met her. The woman said that the main character let her know that her husband was cheating on her. Julia asked if her husband was not or who the Viscount whom the children had met in the park. Mrs. Dalton replied that yes, she had married and became Mrs. Dalton, but now she was going to get a divorce and take back her last name. It's all thanks to this sweet girl. She said that this little girl must have some kind of ability. Oh yes, there is. I have the ability. With her help, I saved my mother's friend, the Viscountess. At that moment, the girl saw that her mother's expression would not be happy. She thought that, of course, a friend of her youth was suddenly visiting her. Of course she will be confused. At that moment, the girl approached her mother and pulled her by the dress. She thought all's well that ends well. So I hope that Mom will not have guests. Dalton sees well that the woman has brought her happiness. And she said that the baby is very similar to her. She also remembered the gift. These are exclusive cakes from Abella's confectionery. She hoped that they would come to everyone's taste. The woman thanked her friend. But she said that Tilly is too early to eat this. I need a verse and I brothers. Dalton said that next time she should bring baby food. She also said that it was time for her to go home. I climbed with a bald traitor. And so the woman added that the baby wasp helped so much. Then if they buy land near Mount Rubens, they will definitely be lucky, so she recommended to buy it. She was glad to see her again, and the girls did not understand about the grief she was thinking. The main character did not understand why it was necessary to buy land near Korea. In any case, if the Viscountess said so, then it is worth paying attention to. The girl was very surprised by the words of her mother that this land was destroyed and there was nothing on it. The soil will not be used for agriculture. They call her cursed, a land where there is nothing. The girl thought that maybe the woman was mistaken. But she looked completely sure of her words. And she was kind, treat them to cakes. Since these are lifeless lands, the price will be low. So the losses will be small. The main character realized that she needed to make her parents believe the words of that lady. Later at dinner, I asked my wife what they were talking about because after meeting with an old friend, she looked so happy. Julia said that they just chatted about life. She asked if everything was okay. We talked a little bummer. And before leaving, she told her to acquire the Rubens lands. The man clarified that the Tilly are neglected wild lands. The woman answered in the affirmative and said that most likely she was mistaken. But at that moment, the girl began to wave her hand and try to say something. She knew exactly what the woman was talking about in a low voice. She said that these are extremely important lands. The girl began to point at the ground and hoped that at least this time they would understand that they should drink the ground. My parents thought she was talking a lot today. And Dad thought that she would definitely be able to say Mom and Dad. The main character realized that everything was useless. And I also realized how hard it is to live without the ability to speak normally. Delos, chewing bread, said that the girl said to buy land. Kaya said that Delos meant that Till insisted on buying the land. I returned to the girl and asked if that was what she meant. She pointed her finger up and said something indistinctly. She was glad to go once understood. She wanted to sing through Delosa. In the match, he rolled to his mother and said that he insisted on buying those lands. Julia said it was impossible for a girl to say that. But she remembered the words of her friend that I would definitely have outstanding abilities. She thought that if Itachi that Christina came was not a coincidence, then Tilly really was. She turned to her husband and asked if they could really buy the land as well. After all, Christina would not have said such a thing if she had not been sure of her words. The man replied that if they did not act thoughtlessly, they might be deceived. The girl began to look at him with cute eyes and he gave up. And I started shopping right away. For Tilly it was an incredible success. Delos sat and talked with the girl but did not understand what she was saying. She wanted to tell him that she had pictures of the weather in people's heads. But she's true, it's too soon. Besides, she tried to say that she wanted to sleep, but that only made her fall asleep faster. At this moment, I approached the girl, took her in my arms and said that after dinner she wanted to sleep and offered to go by. Finally, Delos told the girls not to worry that she could not speak yet, although she was trying hard. For starters, she wants to talk about a plan to get rich with her powers. Then she realized that the opportunity well makes her happy. She should have realized this in her past life. Her last parents were more like sponsors for her. They were a middle-aged couple who were already too late to have children, but soon after her establishment, they had a child. Then all attention shifted to him, along with a feeling of distance came a feeling of inconsistency. But this is vital. Although they are not related to anyone, they love her and take care of her. She can't take care of them in return. She wants to quickly say Mom, Dad, brother. The girl wanted to say Mom at that moment she was interrupted by the Kaya said that some strange man suddenly started throwing tomatoes into the house. The woman decided that today she needed to put Tilly to bed in another room. She then asked Kaya and Delos if they were okay. The boys answered in the affirmative. In fact, this isn't the first time this has happened. They're unlucky for something like this to happen when Henry isn't home. Last time some woman came and threw eggs. The woman reassured the children and said that the doors should be closed soon. Dealers thank you why we don't have to hide all the time. After all, they are not bad. Why do they always have to endure? The boy knew that it was all because of his mother's hair. His brother tried to calm him down, but he did not listen to him. In fact, Julia does not go out of her hair, and the Tilly is forced to wear a stupid hood. The boys burned violently, and at that moment the woman stopped them. She handed the baby over to the Kaya and went up to the Delos. She said she didn't think she was wrong. She asked him one question. She asked if he was in love with Dad. She explained that as well as these people, they implicitly believe that red hair is a bad sign. This season turned out to be not particularly respected. I don't think that remembrance is growing because of Julia's hair. She explained that it will not be easy to get rid of long-standing prejudices. Therefore, with the advent of the season favorable for agriculture, it will not calm down. It is also difficult for them, so the boy should try to understand them. Mom told the children to brush their teeth and lay down under the covers, and she would go to the windows. At first glance, it seems silly to try to understand others. But this is her second life. Her mother is not angry. Instead of reciprocating insults to the offender, she tries to protect the children. However, the girl cannot stand it. The next day the girl sat and drew. Her brothers came up behind and saw what she was doing. They considered Eugene, because not everyone can draw at that age. They looked at what she drew there and saw that there was a man who threw tomatoes at their house and also a pit. Dealers thought that digging a hole was easy, but looking at his brother, he begins to understand that it is more difficult than he thought. Kaya said that he was fine, and if he did not want to dig, then let him rest for now. The girl understood that if the man did not come, the trap would not be used. But if he shows up again, then he will be drowned in a pit along with shit. She believed that the bastard who had abandoned their innocent house should definitely be thrown into this hole. After they dug the hole deep enough, the Kaya was afraid that even if they rested well with leaves, it would still be too noticeable due to the smell. He asked his brother for some dung Leon collected. Well, he replied that if there is more manure there, this trap will become even better. He agreed that he was unrealistically strong. And the horse manure is so big and heavy that he barely dragged it here. First, they filled the pit with manure, which the Deus had so diligently collected. And finally, a wall. Delusu showed that it was too suspicious, but the Kaya replied that this means the pile looks as unsuspicious as possible. And now the smell is also not so strong. If a bad uncle comes to their house, then he has no idea to step on the pit and are carried out. Dealus was already looking forward to dipping himself in the body of the animal poop he had been so diligently collecting. Julia stood at the window and was afraid that Henry was late. The moon was already shining very brightly. At that moment, the woman noticed that the girl was not sleeping and thought that she, too, could not sleep. Pata must worry about Dad. She suggested later when he would go to meet him at his place. In fact, the girl could not sleep until she heard that her father was able to buy land, and also she wanted to see with her own eyes how this asshole would fall into the trap they made. At that moment, they heard a loud sound. The main character thought that this sound was as if a person had fallen. The sound was loud, so she thought it hit well. At that moment, two brothers entered the room and asked their mother what happened. She replied that by the sound something happened. They were not far from the house. And she goes to check what happened there. The kids asked what happened to Dad. At that moment, Tilly realized that it was not her uncle who had fallen there, but her father. If this happened, then it's a complete failure of the operation, because her father comes home after a hard day, ends up getting a dung bath. Julia went outside with the baby, and because it was very dark she did not see what happened, so she asked if Henry was there. But she did not hear any answer and did not understand what had happened. After all, she definitely heard a crack and a scream. Tilly was very glad that the man fell into the trap, and if he pried again they would be a wolf pit. Dealus told Mom what she heard, but the Kaya said that he also heard sounds. And it seems he saw not his father but his uncle. The boy was I am very glad that they did it and started and discuss how to make evidence tomorrow morning. At that moment, the father returned and asked what they were all doing on the street. Decided that they all went out to meet him and thought it was cute. Julia said that she had already begun to worry, and asked why he was late. He apologized for making her so worried. He said that fortunately he bought the land without any problems. And he did the paperwork too. Their horse is already old, so they had to drive slowly, even in the dark. When she saw the document, the girl was surprised why it was so beautiful. She was glad that you are completely their land. This means that they can become rich. The girl said that Dad is the best. Henry was very glad that she called him Papa. The girl was surprised at his reaction and did not know how he even lived in this harsh world with such a weak heart. And the next day, the main character woke up in a stroller on the street. It was a beautiful day, the sun was shining and it was warm. Julia told Kia that his father was waiting for him. Tilly didn't know where they were. She realized that most likely to bring her here while she slept, but she did not understand where her father had gone. She suggested that she was not going to have a family picnic to cancel the land purchase. After all, it was lucky that such an event happened, and the weather is good, so you can go on a picnic. As soon as they arrived, she was a straight girl who realized that they were in the land of Rubens. At that moment they were greeted by a Christina. She said she was waiting for them. She was also glad that they believed her even though it was very difficult. She asked, is the land even more terrible pain than you thought? But she said that they had nothing to worry about, seeing that this land should be high-quality iron ore. And all this ware now belongs to them. Julia asked how she knew this. The woman said that she didn't sit still while her ex-husband, she dripped some information. Anyway, Baron Linden is the owner of this place, so they can give whatever they want. Now they can become rich. If they use the ore from this land, it will be a piece of cake to get rich. But the girl did not understand why. Then I saw such a gloomy face with her dad. The woman said that I am the carriage already here, so she will go. She hoped that this information would be useful to them. She will also send her address to Julie in a letter, and she said that the next time she came to talk to her. The girl's mother, I asked her husband what is the best place to start. After all, if what Christina said is true, then they have a lot of work ahead of them. She had already begun to dream that she could buy better quality diapers and baby food for her daughter. You can buy not only new beautiful clothes, I can send them to a good academy. I didn't know what else they could do. But the man interrupted her and reminded her of what he had said earlier, about the fact that she asked the Council of the Nobility for water supply. He said that if they could solve the water problem, they could stop the pollution of the land, will be able to prevent the spread of skin diseases, causing dissatisfaction with the benefits of the idea in them. However, he asked if she paid that he would donate this mine to the empire, but the truth asked for forgiveness, because if they can own it, they will live a better life. But if I do not donate, then the construction of the water pipeline will begin. The woman told him not to apologize because she fell in love with him because of his selfless kindness. In the first place are people who have a hard time on these lands, these people are more important than they are. The girl did not understand what they were saying. Why, when they have appeared as a budnik, they cannot use it for me. After Henry went to the imperial palace. The girl wanted to stop his legs or the child couldn't do anything. Now he will go to the palace and say it belongs to you, your majesty. The girl's father does not understand how she feels. Before the move, the castle was restored and 2 guards were asked to introduce themselves. He said that he was Baron Henry and he came to his majesty. They let him in and the guards began to discuss what business could be in the Baron's St. Petersburg palace. Moreover, this man looks even more shabby than before. Unri hello getting suspicious from anyone. In all situations, it is better to stay low than to suddenly become rich. This is the price they pay for all his beliefs. Julia and Tilly also suffer greatly and tie up your voice. I'm still not from Bali from them, Patamushta. They have no wealth of mercy. If their family suddenly becomes rich, the nobles, despising them all this time, pounce on them, and nothing can be set aside after them. And then it will not be enough just to be careful when leaving the house. Patamushta weak Julia and Tilly, they'll get some bread later on. In such a situation, he simply does not have enough strength to resist them. So far, he has nothing to oppose. And this angers him much more than their contempt. When I met the king, the man greeted him. She wondered why he personally decided to meet with her. She realized that this was apparently somehow connected with the paper in his hand and asked to give it here. The man opened it and explained that these were documents for land in the Rubens Mountains. And he wants to convey his majesty. Henry said that he received information that I was there today. Therefore, if they carefully explore these lands, then, with the income from the spring, it will be possible to develop a water supply system, so the problem of skin diseases in people inhabiting the territories will disappear, and many other problems associated with this. Karina asked what he wants in return. The man said that if we talk about the reward, then he would like them to use all this for the state. He only wants to help the empire. His Highness asked where he got this information from. He explained that they would tell no later. And first of all, you need to carry out all the necessary work. He knew you couldn't tell the whole truth, then Julia and Tilly would get involved. If he finds out that this is due to the hair regimen, then everything will be in vain. Told him not to apologize. She said that they sent workers to the Rubens lands as soon as possible. She told Baron Linden that he had exceeded all her expectations. He finally came to her and looks like he rebelled. She thought he would be begging for her help, but he's still the same. The action brings to the house of the main character. Her brothers did not understand why she did not want to eat. They assumed either she did not like it or she had not left the baby food yet, but they said it was too early to eat. In fact, the girl did not want to eat because she was not in the mood. She helped in the first place, and of course respect her father's decision, but it's still too fair. At that moment, her mother came in and asked what happened. Delouse said that apparently the girl does not like the taste of food and therefore she thumps on the table. Mom decided to feed her herself and the girl gave up. She decided what was done and she would not worry but just eat. And at that moment someone came to visit them and the mother told the brothers to feed the girl and she herself would meet the guests. He opened the door and I asked if Baron Linden lives here. They immediately came to the point and said that according to the order of His Majesty, they should immediately send the imperial palace themselves. The emperor ordered that all members of the Linden family be brought. The woman was frightened and asked if her husband had done something wrong to the empress. The people who came told Baron Linden to get into the carriage. And everyone with red hair put on a headboron. The man replied that if they did not want to stand here until sunset and wait while they pick up a hat, then let them continue in the same spirit. The girl noticed that everyone had sad faces. Even the voices trembled. Not only mother is worried, but also the Kia with the Deluos. She knew how far the Linden family was from the imperial palace. More precisely, she is distant from the whole world to aristocrats. But they did nothing wrong and were careful. So for what they deserve contempt. So poor. Honest. All because he fell in love with red hair. After they died, the girl was surprised at how beautiful the emperor's castle was. A refined red rose, as if sculpted by a sculptor. These roses are intertwined with an elegant fence. Dazzling landscape. It was so beautiful it was like being in paradise. Not only on the outside, but on the inside, and everything looks majestic too. I saw in the empress the baby was surprised that she was a girl. After all, usually a man is at the top of power. Well, here is a beautiful middle-aged woman. In addition, because of the sun above her head, she seems to shine, as if she had left the picture. Henry greeted His Majesty. The woman immediately got down to business. She said that in the place that the man was talking about, a large mine was indeed discovered. It was so huge that it took many people to explore it. All their geologists assume that there are huge deposits there. Therefore, she plans to start mining immediately, and she would like to know how he found out about this place. The man said that in fact a close friend of his wife. The girl interrupted her father and shouted that she had told him where the ore was. He personally asked you if it was a child. And asked him to explain where he got this girl. The girl realized that she had climbed in. After all, a woman will not be supportive of a red-haired child. The woman came up and poked the girl on the cheek and said that she was cute. At such an early age, he calls out to help his parents. Well, no matter how strange it might be, only baby talk is impossible. The main character was very scared. She thought that the woman would hit her. But she realized that it was impossible for the empress to hit the child. This is the moment the empress said that there was no need to talk about her. In any case, knowing the nature of the man, it is clear that she did not get to him illegally. More importantly, she's going to trust him with a big deal. Henry said that he was ready to fulfill any of her orders. She told him not to worry because the reason she said to bring his children here was so that they would all rejoice together. True, she did not know that they were still so small. She trusted him to run this mine from now on. Apparently, we need a person who will be respected by the workers. And this is also important because geologists believe that there is not only iron ore, but also a new rare mineral. It has always been private. And yet the man has great abilities and a pure heart. She underestimated him all this time. She apologized for turning her back on him because of other people's words. As he did not ask, she will take care of the plumbing, use the hour of the dug note. Of course, she will also get this for him, because he is most interested in this, which means he will achieve great results. She asked if he could do it on the land that he handed over to her. Henry agreed with a smile on his face. Since the title of defense is not significant enough for such a case, the woman decided to grant him the title of Viscount. The girl was so happy that the smile never left her face. She could not believe that her family's operettas opened the way to wealth. His Majesty said that the title ceremony will take place tomorrow, and so that at the end of the man immediately set to work. She also said that the payment will correspond to the title. When the family left, the woman thought that perhaps today she accidentally found a rough diamond, which she had been with her tray all this time. Leaving the castle, they were met by knights who wished them a happy journey. Julia was surprised. The main character thought that they met them in a completely different way, but behind that, thanks to this, her mother looks happy. Maybe because of the title of Viscount and the relations of the others, it will also change at least a little. Henry told his wife that he was very happy to see the happiness on her face. All this thanks to the fact that all this time she was with him. The woman was surprised and said that she thought that she had interfered with him all this time. But the man replied that she was always there and showed him the right path. He will show Her Majesty all his zeal and make her even happier. His wife replied that she was already happy and did not need much. Her husband is a real treasure for her. Arriving home, they squeezed all the money that they were given. The entire table was filled with gold coins. It seems they have seen so much money for the first time. The girl was surprised, although she did not even know the real value of a single coin. The father told his wife to spend the money as she wished. After all, there are many things that they always wanted to do. The woman enthusiastically said that they should definitely take this chance. The woman decided to start with furniture and other things. The brothers were surprised how bright it became with such large windows. Now they can see everything so clearly. And the new sofa is so big and soft. The woman first of all wanted to give the children bigger rooms, change the interior and replace the broken furniture. The man said that he was sorry that he could not take care of them properly. And the woman said no. But Henry said he'd told her so many times before that she shouldn't apologize. He never regretted the choice he made that day. Delouse asked what choice they were talking about. And how did they get to know each other? The woman was surprised that he was there and asked how long he had been there. Tanya replied that now how she apologized to her dad. And he asked how they got to know each other. Kaya wanted to say something but the fuck interrupted him and asked if we weren't interested. The little ones were also wondering what happened in the past. The love story of mom and dad, who are so wonderful, began to talk about what a wonderful dad they have. Those words when she was little. She was bullied for being picked up in a beggarly alley. She tried to explain that I was not picked up in any alley. But other girls asked why her hair was a different color then. They thought they picked her up because they felt sorry for her. They thought that she could send a curse. Julia Vlad Ozone for her family. In the family of the Baron Caries, she was the youngest daughter. Because she was the only one with red hair, everyone treated her like a fake. Some servants took pity on her and fed her. And one more person. The boy invited her for a little walk. Julia replied that it was time for her to clean up. The guy was sorry that she was busy and said that when she was old, she had a minute to tell him. It was Henry Linden. And all the centuries maintained good relations. The girls liked him, but she was always afraid that he would get into trouble because of her. They were like tulips of two colors, she is red and he is yellow. She said that when they were together, under this hair color did not matter. She was consoled by the kindness of this man with beautiful golden hair. With him, she could spend happy days, even if it was difficult, until she came. The illegitimate daughter of her father. More bright. More similar. With the same hair color as his father. And only Julia is red. The man hated his mother because she gave birth to a red-haired daughter. Gradually they changed places with her. And then her father accused the woman of changing children. Made Deli a bastard brat. Julia tried to stop her father, who was beating the servants. But he said that he was not her father and she should be grateful to him for raising her. Yes, and he turns back just from one look at her hair. He almost hit the girl, but Henry stopped him. He said he already knew everything. There could be no change. And even knowing that she is his own daughter, he still understands her hand. Then the guy thought it was strange. Only Julia always wears new clothes and does the work of a servant. Her father always treated her in a raised voice. But despite this, the guy tried not to suspect him. The man replied that it was not good to be so rude. He was so disrespectful to him. Patamushta came from a noble family. But the boy replied that it was not so because he was not taken into account as a man. He treated Julia as a thing only because he called himself her father. And actually today he came here to talk with Julia. Looks like it's too late, he's not worthy of being her father. The guy told the girl that he can no longer see how she lives with people who do not respect her. I offered to go with him right now. They are the same career, but still no one in this family recognizes it. Here she is treated worse than an illegitimate child. That fur-old she thirsty for tea of love disappeared. Follow the one who always cared for her and encouraged her. She thought it took courage. Henry's hands were so warm. She thought that a man with such strong hands could do anything. But of course, it was not without difficulties. His parents were horrified that for no reason he brought Julia into the house and offered to live in a place. The girl expected a negative reaction, but, at that moment, the guy said that he was leaving the family and giving way to Tidov's younger brother. This girl could not imagine. He told Julia that it was his choice. She has nothing to do with this, so let her not worry and do not reproach herself. If she puts in the effort, everything will work out. He won't regret choosing her. The woman was happy. I can't change the fact that because of her, Henry renounced everything. Family, legacy, and even the day he spent his childhood. He left everything behind. All that she could give him in gratitude was warm words and support. Luckily, that was enough for him. For all his tireless service to the emperor, Henry received the title of Baron. The father said that people who believe that it is not, after all, did not see how charming the mother of the children is. At that moment, the girl saw that the sun over the heads of her parents began to glow brighter and more beautiful. These two truly love each other. She was sorry that only she could see such beauty. A few days later, Kia asked Mom when Dad would return. She replied that he is now very busy with the affairs of the capital. But they will still be waiting for him. I've been gone for a few days and my dad still hasn't returned. He is responsible for mine and plumbing work. Mom's condition is getting worse and worse every day. Mom was feeding the girl and accidentally poked her on the cheek with a spoon and said that she could not eat with her mouth closed. The girl realized that her condition was much worse than she thought. At that moment, the girl jumped up and said that she wanted to go to her father. The woman dropped her spoon and was touched by what she said. The little girl was surprised at how she understood what she said. Julia said that since their baby misses her dad, they will certainly go to him. She asked the Kia to tell his brother to get ready because they are going to Dad. Already in the room I was a woman approving what I should wear. Tilly was surprised by this sudden change of mood. Although what's the difference? She loves to see her smile match the sun above his head. When they were riding in the carriage, the main character noticed that everything was so different from the day when they went to the Vicariate Palace. Because everyone looks happy. And Mom is the happiest. After Abby's history in the past, she understands why she misses him so much. Although Dad probably also misses Mom very much. Arriving at the place, the girl noticed that now there are tents here, and when they arrived for the first time, it was empty and without people. Everything has changed a lot from only one order of the Empress. One man asked Julia if she had come to see her husband. He said that now they have a smoke break. And he rests in a tent. The woman left her brothers outside and went to the tent. As soon as she wanted to go into the tent, she saw that her husband was sitting there with some woman. Henry came out of the tent and said that he had a meeting. He did not hear them come up. His wife asked him what kind of woman was next to him. She replied that to introduce them. She owns the mines, so she came to give him some advice. This is Countess Ivy Lebac. This woman said that she had heard a lot about Julia. She also said that she worked a lot in mines, she has some knowledge. So she thought she could help the Viscount. And she asked me not to think anything bad. But the girl saw that a thundercloud was over her head. Ivy said that she was a little worried that the fact that the woman came here with the children would distract the master from his work. But Henry said it wasn't. The fact that his beloved family has made such a long journey for her sake only strengthens him. In addition, their children obey Julia. They won't be a hindrance. Tilly thought her father was a good man and I hoped that he would say something else. I never said it was a relief. She only worried that he was awake at night because of the huge amount of work. And the man also pointed to the guns and said that she said that he could get hurt if he did not stop helping the workers. The girl said indistinctly that her mother should heal her father's hand. The Kaya came up and explained to her mother what the girl wanted to say. Fortunately, my mother foresaw everything and took a first aid kit with her. After all, Mom and Dad care the most. While she told Ivan about Batalov that it's good to try, she's worth it and take care. At this point, the Duchess was very angry. The girl was very happy and knew that no matter how hard she tried, her father would not change. They have 2 kids, plus her too, so don't let her waste her time and get out. At that moment, the Duchess took out a stone and told the man to give it a look to see if it might be a new type of ore. But the stony-faced girl said it was a ruby. The brothers were surprised that Tilly knew all the gems. The Duchess was very angry with the girl because she could not do anything. Everyone praised the girl. The Duchess said she had to go. After all, she already gave all the advice I could. And she thought that a man no longer needed. She also said that she hoped he would have a wonderful time with his family. Although the girl experienced great joy, but then she still did not know that they would encounter this countess again. The next day, they were at home. The weather was wonderful. The last days it rained, and the girl was worried, but thank God the sun still came out. After all, today they are going to an important place and therefore the weather is important. The girl asked her father if they were going to the Empress today. Henry said yes, they would go with him. He noticed that today is a beautiful day and she is very happy. It shines just like the sun. In his eyes, she is always beautiful. Some time has passed since that day. The girl managed to say goodbye to baby food. I learned to walk and now I eat a little bit of sweets. But the best. Delouse told the girl that she had to answer in 10 seconds. You have 2 apples and 4 pears, how many fruits do you have? The girl answered 6 without delay. She finally learned to speak. Of course, it is still difficult for her to speak for a long time and pronounce complex words. But this is already better than in despair, my mother bears any difference. And the best for her. That I am their family, despite everything, continues to live in harmony. The girl asked her dad why Mom didn't take it off. He said that initially he was supposed to go alone, but the Empress wanted to see her, and he asked if she knew how to properly greet Her Majesty. The baby replied that she liked it so that she would try. The girl did not know why she called them today. She suggested that she might be going to give a bonus. Or he will say that he did a great job and give him another important task. But in that case, she would probably call the whole family. In any case, she has a feeling that good news awaits her. When she came to His Highness, she said that he disappointed her. Henry asked what she meant. She said that Viscount Dalton reported that there was a glitch in the mining process. The man replied that it was impossible. The Empress said that she got them this job not to be disappointed. If she's wrong, tell him to prove it right here and now. The man said that he had discussed some things with Mrs. Lebac. At that moment, the girl realized that most likely the Countess Lebac was the wife of Viscount Dalton. Information could only get to the Dalton if they were in a close relationship. The girl realized that most likely these two wanted to frame her father. And that means they just won't let them live in peace. The girl's father told His Majesty that he documented every day all the work carried out in the mine and consulted with specialists. Viscount Dalton's report was wrong. The woman asked if he meant that the Viscount had slandered him. And asked him to explain his rumors that he sells parts of minerals for personal purposes. The man explained that this was a misunderstanding. Right now, he can ask the assistant to provide all the necessary records, which take into account everything, down to every little piece. The report of Viscount Dalton details only rumors, but there are no clarifications about the sources and consequences of the actions. Also in this case, the rumors can in no way be proof that he arbitrarily used the minerals. But if a woman doubts, then she can conduct a verification right now. He is sure that she will not find anything suspicious. The woman asked if he meant that now there are no problems in the mines. The man answered in the affirmative. At that moment, the girl said that her dad does not come home, but only works. And she asked me to trust my dad. His Highness told the girl that her oratorical skills were improving, and this time she speaks in support of her father. And maybe the girl is even smarter than her. The woman stroked the little girl on the head. The woman said she apologized for doubting the man, but he replied that he did not need an apology. It is her duty to check even dubious rumors. She asked if he didn't mind if she set a small table as an apology. The woman said that now that the work of the mine is stabilized, it is possible to have an official party in honor of the victory. In the meantime, let him consider this an appetizer before the celebration. The woman got drunk a little and said that she really thought that Viscount Dalton was jealous of him and his wife. But she also envies him. Because she doesn't have that. Henrietta is surprised that she got drunk and asked if she was okay. He walked over to her and helped her get up from the table. The woman asked if he wanted to give her the baby in her care, but he thanked her for taking care of Tilly, but said that the woman drank too much. The girl understood that the woman did not seem to be in order. At that moment, another man came and told Henry that he would take care of Her Majesty. And he can return to his place. This man told the woman that she had better leave, otherwise the Viscount would be in a difficult position. The girl's father introduced himself. In response, the woman said that this man was her concubine, Male Puro. Male told the woman that there was enough alcohol for today and it was time for her to return. The girl noticed that this handsome man has one weakness. He was the first to come to the aid of the Empress and was so embarrassed in her presence. He really loves her. In addition, the sun above his head shone brighter. Doesn't look like he doesn't like it, Her Highness, but since he is a concubine, this feeling is not completely mutual. In this case, the girl decided to act. She, as if by accident, dropped a glass of wine in the direction of Her Majesty. She began to wriggle and told someone to cover her. She began to glare at the man for him to do it. After all, he has such a chance to demonstrate his sincerity to the Empress. The man took off his cloak and offered Her Majesty to hide behind him so that she would not catch a cold. She thanked him and offered to go for a walk to dry his clothes. Walking through the garden, Henry was surprised how much he had changed since the last time he was here, although it was logical for him that in 10 years he had changed a lot. From that moment on, he could not even imagine how much. Her Majesty said that from now on, due to business, they will meet here often, so let him try not to be so surprised. And she also said that she was sincerely interested in the secret of their ideal couple and asked to tell later. At that moment, the woman saw that the girl looked very tired and asked if she was all right. In fact, the girl was simply surprised that Her Majesty really considered herself lonely. Male offered to carry the girl in his arms. It must be hard for her to walk because of fatigue. He said that he always loved children and often played with the kids. The woman said that it was wonderful that he showed love for children. The main character noticed that the atmosphere suddenly became very pleasant and said that she wanted to walk herself. She said that she always wanted to walk in such a beautiful place. Her father told her that it was dangerous, so let her not go far. She decided that until she returned, let the man stay under Her Highness and earn more points. Tilly realized that the male did not know how to express his feelings, so the Empress did not understand him well. She suggested that most likely from the very beginning she believed that they were connected only politically. In addition, the girl learned that a person with the sun over his head does not have to be in a relationship or marriage. After all, you can't cheat unless you're in a relationship. If she makes business using weather radar, then such details cannot be overlooked. But she did not feel the sincerity of that smile addressed to the male, so she is not sure that the Empress is disposed towards him. At that moment, the girl noticed that she was lost. She didn't know if she could find her way. The main heroine decided first to calmly look around and try to listen to the voices of the Pope and the Empress. The girl never understood why to build such a huge garden. At that moment, she heard a sound. Someone sang with such a clear and beautiful voice. Like an English song. As she approached, she saw a boy whom she did not know. His eyelashes were whiter than snow, short hair blowing in the wind. The girl wanted to look at him closer. This boy can't see anything above his head. The main character was surprised that this happens. What only she did not see, but this is the first time. The boy greeted her and said that he was surprised that he could meet anyone here. Also asked her name. She introduced herself. And he replied that his name was Isaiah. But she can call him Tessie. Telly involuntarily thought that this name suits a person with such blue eyes very well. His eyes are just like gems. The boy pointed to her hair and she thought he was talking about hair colors. But the guy came up and removed a leaf from his hair. He asked where she came from. She pointed to the side and said that she had not been in the palace for a long time and decided to take a walk alone, but in the end she got lost. The boy asked with whom she came here. The girl said that she came here with her father and the empress. The boy replied that he would take her. The main character was surprised that they had just met and he was so kind to her, despite such a cold appearance, blue eyes and silver hair. The girl felt that he was a very warm and kind person. Holding the girl by the hand, he led her somewhere. Tilly was the first to feel warmth from someone other than her family. Walking, the boy asked her how she found him. And he said that he probably sang very loudly, but the main character replied that she was just wandering back and forth. And then suddenly she heard a very beautiful singing and went to his sound. First she showed that the angel sang. The boy told that he is still far from an angel. He said he was glad it wasn't because he was drowning her out with his singing. She told him that he could sing loudly too. She would like to hear more of him singing. He replied that it was an honor for him. And he will never forget her words. He said that if they ever met again he would sing for her again. The girl was mesmerized by his smile. At that moment, the girl's father ran up to her and asked where she had been all this time. It looks like she's gone too far, because he's been looking for her for ages. He said that he was already beginning to worry that something had happened. He was about to assemble a search team. The girl said that the garden is so big that she got lost, but this boy saved her. The father asked the girl what kind of boy it was. When she turned around, she didn't see him. The girl did not understand where he had gone. After all, he went here exactly with her. It was very strange. And he didn't have anything over his head. She didn't even get to thank him. Well, if fate decides. Someday they will meet again. After the father and the girl returned home, Julia greeted them. She asked if everything was okay. And the father replied that nothing special, they just talked. The woman was very happy because she thought that they were called again because of her, but the man said that this would not happen again. And for her not to worry. The work of the girl's father, which at first was difficult, finally went uphill. Tilly Cupid's plan also went like clockwork. The brothers also greeted their father and the Delouse reminded his father that he promised to fix his sword when he returned. Kaya told him to just buy a new one, but he says only over his dead body. He seems to have become very attached to him. Henry said he needed to talk to their mom. And he asked me to wait. The woman asked why they were summoned to the palace. The man replied that there was not even anything to say. Because of Viscount Dalton. The man told his guest that Mrs. Libbet gave him information about his affairs. A false report was drawn up on the issues he consulted with Mrs. Laback about. And presented to Her Majesty. It seems that he was offended that the Kia broke his cane. The woman did not understand how he could hold such a grudge for the mistake of a small child. Not to mention that it was 1,000 years ago. The man replied that perhaps he was angry because he got divorced. You reap what you sow. These words are clearly not familiar to him. The woman replied that this was probably not the case. It's about his cute face. Seeing all this cuteness, the girl realized that she could not stand it and wanted to avoid going to her room as soon as possible. She still did not understand what the Duchess was hoping for when trying to seduce her dad. It is impossible unless she is lucky enough to be reborn as her mother in her next life. But she tried to destroy their wonderful family. Every time she remembers this, she is torn with anger. It is also true that they are with Dalton at the same time. And Dad is now the same suit as Dalton. His income and fame grew. So she can't just let him go. The girl does not know how Dalton will try to spoil them in the future. But she had to figure out how else to use her power. She did not know what to do. She thought she might sit on the street and become a brilliant fortune teller. She decided to start from the street and then become the best predictor of the world of the aristocracy. But she's a child, right? Once she leaves, everyone will go crazy. Or just threaten Dalton with his abilities. There is nothing to even think about. Whatever she decides alone will be difficult. She decided to tell the brothers about what she sees. She can't really speak, so she has to explain in the pictures. She said she sees the sun over people's heads. And that everyone is different. Clouds or rain when the wind is in your head. Kaya told his sister that he had already explained to her that it was correct to say the wind was blowing. Delouse replied that she meant that reckless people have clouds over their heads. Kaya realized that this was not literally about the wind. He asked his sister he was slowly conjuring. The girl realized that well, yes, you can call it that. Or maybe she can use some other cool magic. If only she could learn. This time, she was reborn as someone incredible. The brothers said it was best to keep it a secret from their parents. Delouse said that if this is true, then nothing can be done. The brother told the girl not to worry, because no matter what she did, she would still be good for him. The main character did not understand why they reacted like that, because usually when the characters in the manhwa say that they can do magic, everyone is delighted. It doesn't seem like the world is right. Red hair and sinister magic too. Then she should probably hide her power. If she starts to act, we need to make sure that no one finds out about her abilities. More time has passed. While she struggled in thought, two things changed in my house. First, the number of servants increased. There were amazing cooks and neat maids. Thanks to this, they can eat delicious meals every day, and live in a house where order reigns. And the second. The girl introduced herself, her name is Justina, she will be their teacher. Finally, a person appeared who will teach them. She was pleased to meet such polite and children. She said that today they will study a variety of things. Today is their first day, so now they will test their knowledge. And offered to eat them at the table. I've been waiting for this for a long time, thought the girl. The aristocrats of this world are probably used to this, but she, to be honest, even in her past life did not pass a single test. She decided to see what would come of it. After checking the test, the teacher was surprised that the girl did not have a single mistake. The girl was confident. And that knowledge is very easy for her. The woman decided that she would have to teach a genius. Delouse said that Tilly had long since mastered the ministry. And she can multiply. The teacher was surprised because you don't often see children her age who can multiply. The boy continued and said that their sister is very smart. He wanted to add that she knew how to conjure, but at that moment the Kaya covered him with his hand. The teacher was surprised and said that she had not heard. She also told Kia that it is not good to mock his brother. The girl was surprised how he even thought of blurting out such a thing. Julia entered the room and offered to continue the lesson with fragrant tea. The teacher thanked her and said that they had just finished. She said that today they did not do a knowledge test. Mr. Kia is very assiduous. And he has great concentration. Mr. Delos has a good ability for languages, he has a very developed sense of the language, so he grasps everything on the letters. The teacher thought that both of them could enter the capital's academy, and that he will not be able to go straight to the average course. She is the descendant of Mrs. Tilliers. The woman I said that compared to her peers, she is very good at solving the problem is very smart. The girl breathed a sigh of relief and it seems the woman really did not hear anything about witchcraft. The girl decided from that moment on she would do so that people saw her as just a smart child. And so at one moment they had more servants, they got the opportunity to study. This was their home. Just a few weeks ago, they were on the verge of poverty and were forced to sell their estate. With one raise their family applied, but this girl will never be enough. The more successful her father is, the more envious people he will have, like Dalton. And in order to be ready for this, she must use her strength. And more importantly, her father should receive a higher title. In Her Highness's castle. I beg your highness for forgiveness for calling him so often when he is busy. But he and Mail just can't stop looking at cutie Tilly. Mail wanted the girl to try this dessert for a very long time. The girl does not remember what time already like this they met the Empress. Do not count how many times they called them to tea parties and said they wanted to see her. She even memorized as how many patterns on the cups and what desserts they serve. But it's good. Thanks to this, a trusting relationship is built between her father and the Empress. I asked the highness of the girl as her dessert. She replied that it was very tasty. Taste of happiness. The woman was surprised at how sweetly she put it. I said Michael made it himself. This time too, the guy replied that he was glad that she liked it. All thanks to Her Majesty's control. The woman replied that she had done nothing of the sort. In general, he was very skilled both day and night. The father covered the girl's ears. The girl was in shock. Although she was glad that they were on good terms. I magicians this time hit right on target. Highness, remember that I never tried for the girl's father like a male. She asked the girl if she wanted anything. The main character wanted to say that she was very grateful because of the dessert, but at that moment she realized that this was her chance. She said that she would like an evening in honor of the Pope. Festive evening. Her Majesty remembered that if you think about it, Mr. Linden never celebrated his appointment. The man replied that it was not worth it. He's busy with work and they don't have that much free space at home. Her Highness said to arrange everything in her palace. She said it's better to spend the evening in such a big place. The girl was very grateful to Her Highness for this. This is exactly what the main character needed. This evening, show everyone that the Empress and the Pope have a trusting relationship, and everyone including Dalton will count with them. Arriving home, Henry told the family that His Majesty would hold a celebration in honor of his title. The invitation has already been made. All this will take place in the Imperial Palace, so the whole family must be present. The brothers were surprised that they would also go and rejoiced. I wanted to say that I don't know it will be difficult because a lot of people will come. But his wife reassured him and said that she would also go. He is now a gecko. And she can't stay at home all the time. She must be brave and confident, as if her hair color means nothing, and she also wants to share the fun together at this holiday. The woman said that she had a lot to cook. Therefore, he cannot be slow. And the weather is great too, so she decided to start. She knows a great store just in case. She invited the guys to go with her and buy the most beautiful things. Upon entering the store, she was told that they do not accept people with red hair. Henry asked what they were about. That is, they want to say that you can't even buy clothes for redheads. The girl's mother said that everything was in order, she assumed it, but what can you do? The girl did not understand how prestigious the store was, it was already too much. The girl did not understand why they creep in front of other people, and at the same time they do not put her mother in anything. Julie suggested we go somewhere else, but at that moment the woman at the entrance told them to come with her. She said that the last visitor was very superstitious. She said that now they have a short break, so no one will be there, and told them to feel at home. Looking at the dress, the woman was surprised how beautiful it is, and she thought it would look great on her daughter. Tilly sees that her mother really likes it. If they returned home, she would be very upset. The woman asked if they would again be in a double outfit. She was glad that her mother was smiling so happily. She really liked to see me like this. The evening was thoughtful so that people would stop looking down on their family. But when a girl thinks that she and her mother will put on a full look, her heart is joyful. Thus began the festive evening in honor of the title of the Pope. The girl was surprised by the luxury of this evening. Of course, their family also looks luxurious. Julia was the first time in such a place. She was worried that she did not wear a hat. But her husband reassures her and said that next to her, the women said that they would go to greet the guests. And Kiru told him to keep an eye on his brother and sister. The woman was delighted with everything around her. She didn't know why she felt that today I was expecting only good things. At that moment, a boy approached the children and asked what the dirty-haired people were doing here. It was even strange for him to see live confirmation of the rumors. One little one to two dirty heads. Delouse wanted to rush into a fight, but his brother stopped him and said that yes, they were from the Linden family. But who is he that starts rudeness? The boy was surprised and said that for the first time to see those who do not know him. He pointed to his head and said that this hair color is a symbol of the Raw family. Kia said that the first herd family brings up such rude people. And it means that in such families it is normal to get involved in a quarrel with the first comer just because you are a famous family. An unfamiliar boy exclaimed that this was not rudeness. It's a shame they didn't recognize him. He is Jun Raw, the eldest son of the Duke of Raw. The main character told him that he is an ignoramus here. She was so happy he took it and messed it up. She's tired of listening to this. She didn't know how he dared treat her family like that. She saw that the boy had the sun over his head. He said in a soft tone why she interrupted him. The girl was surprised and thought that she had something with her eyes. The sun above your head means nothing. She won't let it go to him. The girl introduced herself as the youngest in the Linden family. She said that he probably didn't know. But his hair is more like dirt. June was very surprised. The girl continued to ask that he did not even know what color the dirt was. Mile approached them and asked the boy what he was doing here. He suggested that most likely the boy did not return because of the cutie Tilly. But the Kaya said that he mocked them and said that they were dirty-haired. The guy asked if it was true. He made the boy apologize. Kaya told Delos not to forget about it. After all, this is an evening in honor of their dad and he does not want to spoil his mood anymore. They don't have to accept a soulless apology. I took my sister by the hand and they went. The girl was going to thank the elusive guys for helping us find the way. But because of this black-haired one, they didn't even exchange a word. Maybe they will meet sometime, and then she thanked him. As soon as the children returned, they heard a conversation of one man with their dad. He gave advice to Henry and told him to take his hands off the shaft. After all, this job is not for him. The main character did not understand why on this special day there are so many people who criticize their family. Henry thanked the men for their valuable advice. He called him the Duke of Raw, and the girl was surprised. Viti had just met the younger Raw and now her elder showed off. She didn't know what was wrong with both of them. The Duke said he hoped the man did just that. If he knew his place, he would not do stupid things by taking redheads for a festive evening. She didn't understand how he could say that to his face. Henry asked insulted, and he now has his wife and daughter. The girl did not understand. The sun seemed to be shining over the man's head, but no warmth emanated from it at all. Like a dark sun. The girl's father told the man to apologize. He literally yelled at him to apologize for insulting the two main people of the evening. And the man replied that it was not even funny. How dare he say that to him? At that moment, Her Highness approached, and she said that when two attractive aristocrats stand side by side, it's time to join in the fun. And it was also curious what kind of conversations they led so fiercely. Duke Raw said they didn't talk about anything interesting. Henry said that if insults to his wife and daughter weren't interesting, then what was interesting to him? Her Highness tried to guess what the conversation was. She barely heard, but she thought. What is said about this when there is nothing to say? She told the men to avoid such talk on a day like this. The woman remained neutral. That's enough, but the enemy Duke they will play even if they continue to curse. At that moment, the woman noticed the girl and took me in her arms. The girl's father said that she came with her whole family and by order of Her Highness. The woman replied that it was great because on such days it is much more fun if you are with your family. She also asked the Duke where his son was. After all, he seems to be the same age as the sons of the Viscount. Tilly was worried that I would have to see him again. So I called my son and he approached them. The little girl was disappointed that they met again. But the boy was silent. And the girl didn't know if they should say hello first. Kia bowed his brother's head and introduced himself, to which in response the boy also introduced himself.